In this lesson, we'll create some little pieces for the interior of our chain guard using some subdivision surfaces. So we want to have some pieces kind of in a radial pattern inside this little inset area. So let's use subdivision surfaces to do that. Let's start by creating a subdivision primitive. Let's just create a cube. All right, let's go ahead and just bring this cube up and sort of in position here. And the nice thing about having our guard here is we have a nice reference here. We have a nice center point, and then we have some lines radiating out. We have 32 of those. So that's going to help us for reference. So let's come in here and just line this up on this vertical center line here. You can hit 3 to show the smoothing for that subdivision surface. Okay, 1, 2, and 3 will show the different smoothing, and that's just the display of the subdivision here in our viewport. Okay, let's go ahead and I just want to kind of scale this down a bit. Let's take those vertices down there at the bottom and scale those in and just create kind of a tapered effect here. All right, and so I kind of want it to fit inside those 2 lines of resolution there. And so it's going to get pretty thin as it comes down to the bottom. Okay, now if we look at this, it's pretty thick. So I actually want it to be a bit thinner. Okay, so we'll go ahead and put that, inset that in. Can actually make it a bit wider. Okay, so we get something like that. Now we can start to modify this. So one of the ways that we can modify our geometry as a subdivision surface is to refine it. So if we select these faces and we go to refine selected, we can get other faces. If we refine those even further, we can go down into the hierarchy. So now we're at level 2 here. Okay, and I can start to come in and select those particular faces. Okay, and then we can kind of push those in if we want to create kind of an inset look there. Okay, so and then we go back and say display coarser all the way back to level 0. We still get that effect there. We can also treat this as a polygon object. Now to use our polygon tools, we want to switch from standard mode to polygon proxy mode. So we'll go to surfaces, subdiv surfaces, and instead of going in standard mode, let's go to polygon proxy mode. That'll give us this cage, and we can now use our polygon tools on this cage. So let's say we wanted to use our insert edge loop tool. We can go ahead and insert an edge loop right on the top, and that'll tighten that line up a bit. Okay, now it looks like it's affected our hierarchy a bit, so let's, instead of using our insert edge loop tool, let's grab the top and just do a quick extrude and pull that up. That leaves those faces untouched. All right. We can go back and tighten up the sides here if we want to do that, or if we wanted to extrude a piece out, we could do that as well. Okay. Now coming in here, you select those points. I'm going to just pull those out so it's a little bit more of a curved shape. All right. And then we can always go back to standard mode. We get our polygon, our subdivision surface selected. Go back to standard mode here. Let's go ahead and freeze our transformations. All right. Now I also want to have this kind of come down a little bit in the center. And so let's add a lattice. And actually, let's go ahead and reset this. Reset the lattice, and now we just have fewer points. I'm going to kind of pull these down. So we get something like that, and then we can delete our history. Okay, so now we need to create this single piece and duplicate it around. So if you remember when we created the spokes, we did a very simple version of this. We just kind of rotated it, the piece around, and then connected it up. But we can actually use duplicate special to do all of the work for us. So the first thing we need to do is set up our pivot. So in this case it's easy because we can just hit insert and go ahead and snap using the V key, snap the pivot right to the center of this piece. Hit insert again. So now when we rotate this, it rotates around that center point. Now we'll go into edit, duplicate special, and open up the options. Let's reset these. So we want to create copies. You can also create instances. We'll just group them under the parent. You can also just group them under the world as well. Now this is going to affect how our copies are actually translated, rotated, or scaled. We don't want any translation to happen. We don't want the copies to move each time. We want them to actually rotate. And if we look at this, or if we think about it, you can see that if I rotate this into the next section, it's about 20 degrees. Okay, and there's 360 degrees, so we're looking at 18 copies total, and that includes this copy. So we want to rotate it 20 degrees in the X, and that'll rotate each copy 20 degrees. And then the number of copies, instead of 18, we want to choose 17 because we already have one here. All right, and so now all we have to do is hit duplicate special, and that will duplicate those all the way around. And now we've been able to just build this one piece, and then with just a couple of clicks, add all of those pieces all the way around. We can come in here, and you can see all of those pieces here. We can grab those, group them together into one group. All right, let's go ahead and add a NURB sphere to the mix, and we'll just put that right in the center. We'll come into the side. I'm actually just going to rotate this 90 degrees. And let's go ahead and scale it down. And I want to move it out. I want to just put that right in the middle. So just something like that. You can push it inside there a bit. All right, so we get something like that. So it's just nice to have, in some areas, a little bit more detail. And that duplicate special is great for being able to create a lot of duplicates at one time and have them each either rotated, or we could have them scaled or translated as well if we wanted to. In this case, we use the rotation. Okay, so the next thing that we'll look at is building the bicycle seat. So we'll go ahead and do that next.